Let's pivot this conversation about living longer. Inflation is a big deal. It's hard to predict, and obviously working with you is a smart thing to do. But how do you actually put in inflation into these calculations? Because it just seems like it's a number that we're guessing at, isn't it?
I don't think inflation's a number we're guessing at so much as it's a number that we need to include and incorporate. And what I mean by that is whatever we spend today, it's going to cost more in the future. So I think we have to start with that, obviously. And when how much more is really the question. And inflation doesn't go in a nice, orderly fashion. It tends to go in kind of a lumpy way. So I was looking back in 2022, a stamp I think was like 39 cents, and it's 73 cents now. And so it's had a better than 3% inflation rate over that period of time. However, if I just go back 7 years, it's gone up over 5% in the last 7 years. In other words, inflation was, 2, 3, 4% over time, but lately it's been significantly higher than that. So that's where it comes into play is we have to think about how much more you're going to be spending. And, if you're familiar with the rule of 72, if we take the number of 72 and we divide it by a rate of return. So let's say we think we're going to earn 7%. Well, divide 7 into 72 and, it's about 10. And that means it will take 10 years for your money to double. Or let's use that as a rate of inflation. It's going to take, that long for your costs to go, to double. And so if we're looking at 3% inflation, it might take, 18 to 20 or over 20 years to, for your costs to go higher. So if you're retiring at 60, things might cost twice as much by the time you're 85. On the other hand, if inflation is 5%, if we take that into account, things might, the cost of things might double in 12 or, 13 years. So that's where we have to keep that into account, is that those costs are definitely rising and we have to use some reasonable approach. And I always say a financial plan, in order to serve you well, it's like a garden. You have to constantly be tending it. You have to constantly be touching or rechecking and refiguring your financial plan. We make assumptions today for the next 20, 30 years, and then 5 years go by. So we're going to start from 5 years from now and make projections for 20 years from that point and so forth. So our starting point is constantly moving forward. Our assumptions or our assumed reality become the real numbers in the future. And that's how we prepare for that. Is some years things are going to go up and cost a little bit more than we thought. Some years they're going to be right on the money, and some years maybe not as much as expected, but we're in the ballpark. And that's really what financial planning is it's not precise, but it is giving you the opportunity to be well prepared and being able to pivot and adjust for whatever the future may bring.